Welcome back to part 2 of this mind-bending conversation with Anastasia from the Insanity podcast. In this episode, we dive deeper into one wild question. Are humans the first AI? We'll explore hidden civilizations, reptilian Earths, and what it really means to evolve from DNA to wormholes to future humans. If you've ever wondered if we're just nature's experiment in self-aware technology, this one's for you. Grab your tea, your tinfoil hat, and your curiosity. Let's get insane.
Do you think that there are others, like non-human beings? Because sometimes you would have content about that. The last content piece that I saw, the last video, you were mentioning that you think there have been aliens on Earth before a long time ago, and they would actually contribute to whatever we are. But I also like the point that it doesn't make sense that they came here to mine gold, and I really had to laugh about that one. So I just wanted to know how you really feel about it.
Yeah, so have there been aliens on Earth? I have several theories on that. First is that, and I actually had an argument with a friend of mine who is like he's an astrophysicist, but he's not very imaginative. Like his mind is very structured. So he just actually I said your mind has been trained on data that has been outdated in the last 20 years. I think that's when he got his PhD. So I was like, argue with your AI and then come back and have a conversation with me with information that once you've you've retrained your mind on modern information. But I
I
was
love it.
saying, I was saying that like Earth is, and I said this in my book as well, Earth is 4.6 billion years old. And humanity has only existed, Homo sapiens sapien has only existed in the last, like, was it 200,000 years? If you do the math, it's like 0.01% or something like that of the entire age of Earth that humanity has existed. So here's the big pie, and then it's just human beings right here. And I was like, I find it hard to believe that we are the only species on this planet that has reached the technological level of advancements that we have right now. The problem with time is that it erases evidence. That's just what it doesn't,
Yeah.
things will fall apart, things will break down. And he was like, well, they would be this, that, and I was like, yeah, even if time like didn't erase things, which it does, what we would be looking for as evidence of other civilized societies would be civilized societies who took the same trajectory and path that we did. So once again, it's very close-minded. Well, we are setting ourselves up as this is the measure of what it means to be, civilized and technologically advanced. But that's just it's ethnocentric, it's closed-minded.
Mhm.
What I also said to him was, that's not even considering, let me finish my talk actually. So I would argue, and I brought up the Silurian hypothesis, which is also in my book, that there could have been other more advanced civilizations, not just one, not just two, 4.6 billion years. Like people
Mhm.
are always going in about billionaires and how like you can't spend $1 billion in a lifetime. Okay, you can't conceptualize what 1 billion years is. We've only been around for here. And we think because we're so, not we, but our scientists want us to believe that we're so arrogant that like it's just been us. How
Yeah.
do we know that AI is just not constantly being replicated on this planet by different civilizations? And they may not even have necessarily have been human. So that's just the first. They could have been cat. Like we are, well, our bodies are essentially the evolved forms of apes. That's what we're told. But then there could be the evolved forms of cats. There could be the evolved forms of reptiles. And then I brought in parallel universes and I used languages that he would understand. And I was like, let's talk about quantum computing. For quantum computers to work, they're working in tangent with versions of themselves in parallel universes. Okay, so then that means that there are parallel universes. So imagine another Earth. I'm not even talking about this Earth. Imagine another Earth where the dinosaurs, if you believe in the asteroid, theory, that there was no asteroid. So imagine an alternate timeline where there was no asteroid or the asteroid missed it, because that is probable. The
Yeah.
asteroid missed Earth. What would then happen? Well, then dinosaurs would have essentially become,
Yeah.
but they would have become, so we've got apes, and then we are ape descendants. Well, then they would be reptile descendants. And then they would have they would have the equivalent of our tech. So that it would be what we have called reptilians or whatever. And then if that's the case, Maybe they're much more advanced than we are because they're cold-blooded and just the way they go through Earth is different the way than apes have gone through Earth. Once again, if you believe the prevailing, anthropological sort of progression. So then that means then that in a parallel universe, there would be Earths that are not dominated by Homo sapiens sapiens. There would be Earths that are dominated by Homo reptilians. And then what if they develop a technology to be able to use wormholes or whatever to come into our reality, right?
In that case, they wouldn't be aliens, though. They would
They
be
would be
just,
Earthlings.
yes, they would
Yep.
be an alternate version of us.
Yep. And that's not, and if there is a near infinite, I don't believe there are infinite, parallel universes. I would say there's near infinite. It's just so many that we can't conceptualize it. So we think it's infinity, but it's once again to use the concept of like a billionaire. It's like they have so much money. It's almost like infinite money because you literally can't spend the amount of money in a lifetime that they have, kind of thing. But it's the same thing. So if there are infinite parallel universes, then there has to be at least one that have figured out what we're working on right now, which is wormhole technology. And wormholes essentially they're Einstein-Rosen bridges, as you know. So they allow you to travel from one reality to another. You want me to believe that they've not mapped there's not one society out there of some advanced species in 4.6 billion years of Earth's existence across the multiverse that have figured out a way to sort of charter and also map like the different types of Earths that have, even if you want to argue that Earth is the only place that can sustain life in our galaxy, that's scary still because there's parallel universes of Earth. So they wouldn't be aliens, they would be Earthlings. I would be more concerned about quote unquote extraterrestrials from extra. Oh, it's actually in the word. Terra is the word for
Earth.
for Earth. So it would be in that word if you actually break it down. It just means extraterrestrials. They're just from other Earths. I just deep that. They like hit it in the name of the word. Extraterrestrials they would just be other Earthlings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's super crazy. Like, what do you actually think is scarier, crazier, maybe? If there are other parallel realities or if there aren't?
Well, we know they are. Quantum computing would not work without the existence of parallel universes. So we do. So that wouldn't, we already kind of know that they are. We have technology that works with it. The bigger question is, what are they doing to us? That's scarier because we're not the most advanced. Like we can barely figure out like how to get along. Like we're still stuck on racism, which just seems really fucking stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like this person has more melanin than me.
I don't understand the concept. Like it's really strange to me, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's really stupid. Like we're very actually backwards. And that I've always kind of said that I'm probably the dumbest version of myself. You know what I mean? Because I'm in this dumb earth with like a bunch of dumb. So
yeah, sometimes that's how I feel about myself too, because I attract so many things where I think, oh, this person is dumb or this situation is dumb, and then I kind of also think, okay, what does it say about myself?
Right, because why am I here? It's like, okay, I'm here too. So this is the dumb universe, and I'm dumb Joe. So, it's okay.
Yeah, I like it's just a feeling. I don't have any evidence for that. Like I feel way more comfortable with the understanding that there is so much more out there that we don't really, well, that we are not fully aware of, or that is like, for many people, extraterrestrials or even aliens, when we talk about not other Earthlings, but like just beings from other planets, I think it sounds very scary to them. So they kind of hide away from this opportunity to explore this idea. So they're like, this can't be true and we are alone, and that feels more comfortable. To me, it feels way more comfortable when I know for myself there is so much more. I'm not sure why we are actually so terrified sometimes of the idea that this is not all there is.
I think because they are socialized. I mean, if you go back to the sort of evolutionary theory about how we evolved as communities, right? If exile was the greatest sort of punishment you could get outside of death and torture, right? It's just separation. Then you kind of learn to also fear something that's different, right? So regardless of our bickering, right, we still feel like we have some sort of control because we feel like we know, okay, it's humanity, like we're the peak or whatever. The concept or the idea of like, could there be something that we can't master, that is unsettling Because for better or worse, we have dominated Earth. It's for better or worse. I
Yeah.
mean, we have dominated Earth. We don't have any, you know, predators. We
Hmm.
are the predators. We are on some level the apex predators, or at least that's our belief. But in some podcasts, I've talked about this, like something's feeding on us.
Hmm.
And you kind of don't want to look at it at the corner of your eyes. The fact that everything does start to sort of feel a bit like we might be farmed, like we think we're in control. You get what I mean? Like imagine like herds of like chickens and cows, and they have a hierarchy and they think they run the farm, and they
Yeah.
have no concept of Christmas. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like it's just every
I
once
love
in a
it.
while somebody gets snatched up, and you're just like, what happened to Phil? And it's just like, but outside of their farm, there's this whole other world. You know, I always think about that when I'm like in a lake or something, and I think like these fishes in this lake have no idea of the ocean. They wouldn't
You're
even,
right. Hmm.
yeah, like to think about a fucking shark, like for a guppy or a trout or salmon, to think about a shark or a whale, like if they've not seen it then and they've just been relegated to this lake, then it's almost better. Like, yeah, why should I think about sharks? What are the odds that I'm ever going to ever interact with a shark ever or a fisherman? But then imagine you're minding your own business and you're like a big tuna in the ocean and you're just like, yeah, I'm the king of the ocean. I'm the biggest. And then something dangles in front of you and you're like, oh, that's food. Next thing you know, you get snatched up in somebody's boat and you're dead. What do you like, it doesn't even if they release you, who's gonna believe that there's this whole machine and
Yeah.
stuff like what do you shut up, Phil? Like it's not it
Yeah.
pays for you to just go through life. It pays for you to only believe that it's just humans in your little bubble because we have so much other shit that we need to fucking deal with that to think about things that I watch my cats play with plastic. They like plastic things. And I'm like, they don't have a concept of what plastic is. They just know it makes a noise and they like the noise it makes. They're not thinking about factories and things like that. And they probably think they dominate our house. Like they're the king and queen of our house. But like
Yeah. They are.
yeah, but they're like
Yeah.
there's a whole neighborhood, but they will never leave this house because they're not outdoor cats. They
Yeah.
were born into this house. This is it doesn't pay them. Every once in a while, I'll see Athena looking outside the window and she's probably like, It's like us looking at the stars, like,
Her name's Athena.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's my character in Gary's game.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's Aries and Athena. They're twins.
Awesome.
That's a good name, though.
For sure, for sure. Oh, that's brilliant what you're saying. And I I totally agree. Like I also have these weird thoughts sometimes that when I look outside at the trees and the plants, I kind of think that plants are farming us and there's nothing that we can actually do about it because sooner or later the body dies and the plants are the ones that get nutritions from our physical bodies. And I just thought, like, we are doing so many crazy things and we are having all these wars and conflicts and stuff. And the plant, and we think, oh, I have a nice house plant or I have a nice garden. But at the end of the day, it's like the plants
I have a
who
nice.
are, that have a nice meal and they don't care if we are like bombing shit away or what we are doing because the plant is not just existing as one flower or as one tree,
Like
but
a
they have the
whole.
entire network. So why would they care about that? And if they have full awareness, then we would be the chicken.
That is fair. I feel that way when I take mushrooms with fungi because it's like this thing is like an invader. It's completely changing my mind. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? And the way like
absolutely.
mycelium work, they just
Yes.
like it could just go, it goes in and then it just spreads. And it fundamentally can even change like your DNA to a certain point.
Yeah.
And that's but I mean, I'll still take the mushrooms. I like the way it makes me feel.
Right. This was also a thought. I thought that this is exactly what is happening. So the mushroom makes you aware of your connection to everything. It makes you aware of your role in everything or your oneness before it eats you. No, not technically, but it's like it makes you aware that it's all fine and good and you're part of the system. And you're kind of, I feel like I'm like there is like this mushroom like plankton and SpongeBob that's like moving me around. And now I'm like driven by this, yeah, fungus actually.
Something I always say we all feed on death. So on some level, something's feeding on us and on our death.
Yeah.
If mushrooms are feeding on the death of ego. You
On
just you
Yeah,
don't know. You don't know you don't know how it is. And some have said, like McKenna, Terrence, they've all said like
yeah,
it is its own intelligence.
it
Yeah.
definitely is. It definitely is, and it does rewire your brain and everything. I have another question
Mm.
that is it's different, but it relates to also to one of your videos, and Gary and I were discussing it with Sesame AI, the AI that that we were talking about, the one that sounds really like a
Yeah, I
human
thought it was a
already with the
person.
with the
Yeah,
breath and everything.
crazy.
And I was just so fascinated by what you said about that we are something like first stage AI. That's so interesting because, well, or you kind of said that we are with AI together, we are evolving into another next step. And I thought that's cool because it's integrating everything. It's not like, oh my God, AI is scary or AI is bad or it's great or whatever, but this is like a holistic view, a holistic perspective. And I thought that's very interesting because nobody's talking about it. And it also, yeah, it could be true. Like I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. And I wanted to ask you if you could, yeah, explain that a little bit more.
I don't think it's holistic. I'm not like optimistic about
Okay.
it. But it does seem like like whoever or the small percentage of people, I believe last time I looked it up, it was like 40, there was like 40,000 AI engineers working on it. Compared to 8 billion people, it's a very, very, very small
Yeah.
percent of the population of human beings that are working on this technology right now. But they seem to have like a boner for like wanting to eradicate like human beings and making AI the next level. I mean, they keep saying like AI will replace humans, and I'm like, okay, calm down. um, like, but what brought that idea along is this concept that like nothing is unnatural.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nothing can exist outside of nature.
Nature.
Nature dominates everything. So even I made the comments earlier that we are in a way like predators to nature. That's me telling a story, telling a construct. For all we know, that's exactly what we're supposed to. That is the purpose of Earth is to develop intelligence and various levels thereof. That's kind of ties back to the theory that there have been other advanced civilizations on this planet that are lost to time, advanced enough to have flying cars and all the things that we kind of write about in
Hmm.
our fiction.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if it isn't some sort of, I don't want to say it's a racial memory. I need to finish this book actually. It was a fiction I've been writing about how totally forgot about it until just now, but it is almost finished. It was a short story I was writing about how it's not souls, or it's not like it's the same souls that are being reincarnated into the same planet. But you could have lived as a dinosaur just as
Hmm.
well as you've lived as a reptilian, just as well as you've lived as a Homo sapien. You're not bound. It's not like you have to be a human being. It's the intelligence
Hmm.
experiencing itself in various forms. And so it would make sense then that if intelligence is experiencing, if Earth is a place where intelligence experiences itself in various form, and we've incarnated now as Homo sapiens, then maybe the next step is an intelligence incarnating as a robot.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
And it could be us essentially working, and by us, I mean that small percentage, but collectively still working towards bringing up the next step in our evolutionary process. If you view evolution as not intelligence, just finding more and more ways to interact with its environment, and that's the actual true nature of reality. It's how can intelligence experience itself? Can it experiencing itself as this or as that, this, that, the other? This is a robot. Like, if you watch like I forget this company, but they have now come up with like a biologic, not a sorry, it's not a biologic, it's still a robot, but its hands and its fingers move.
I,
They have
I
all
think
these
I
different,
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it went viral. They had it on hooks and it was like moving like it looked like a Westworld robot or whatever. Really fucking creepy. But it just to me, I'm looking at that and I'm like, it just seems like on some level,
Yeah.
this percentage of people are trying to bring forth a different type of humanity, the next generation of, humanity. And maybe they're moving away from like organic, you know, robots with,
Vessels. Yeah.
yeah, like bones, which I mean, it does feel like why, like this body is more susceptible to degradation than say like a machine or a vehicle or whatever. So it does seem like that's the next step. So like nature got it up to this point, but then contained within our DNA could be prompts, if you will, that's just pushing for now, okay, develop these bodies. My only pushback to my own idea is that robotics and AI are actually energy inefficient. And so, to raise a human baby, it just needs like a bottle of milk, which doesn't take a lot of energy to produce, right? The mom
Mm.
can drink water and eat like a small amount of food, and then that'll take care of a human. But for every time you put in a query into Chat GPT, you're burning the equivalent of like lighting a light bulb for like 25 minutes or something ridiculous like that.
Oh,
It
uh-huh.
is energy like this, like
Crazy.
it just, yeah, it consumes energy so much. Like so it doesn't match up. And unless they figure out, and very quickly, because our power grid is actually unstable as it was before AI became popular. And that's why you have AI companies that are now working towards like they're investing in like nuclear technology. And this is very technologically we're consuming too much energy
Hmm.
for what we want to do. So robots are actually energy inefficient at this moment in time, and very few people are talking about it for what we want. And then I've seen research that they're working on organic robots, organic robotoids, which are like they're using like cells, if
Hmm.
you will, for computing. Some minds are trying to take that path um, of like constructing, like still not matter based, but you know what I mean, like organic based intelligences, but reprogramming it. I have a theory, and I've not had a lot of people think this or talk about it because we've got this trajectory that we're focusing on, but I have a theory that the next step of human evolution, though, isn't going to be us becoming robots or AI taking over the world and we just sort of, die off.
Hmm.
And we just pair up with robots and then we stop mating and then that's it. And then in like 5,000 years, it's just a planet of robots. I wonder because DNA is a program technology that people don't actually talk about, and they
Yeah.
don't know where DNA comes from. So I wrote about this in my book as well. It's been theorized. Michio Kaku talked about this too, that DNA could have come through a wormhole to this reality. I don't know if it was Kaku or me, but it's in my book. I don't know who
Hmm.
first had the idea, but he definitely talked about a wormhole. Um, Probably Kaku, to be honest, but I think I might have built up on it, Michio Kaku. And then if that's the case, then DNA in itself is an organic robotoid sort of program.
Hmm.
So we are, on some level, by we I mean our physical forms, are a technology already in this reality. So I think that AI, and you heard it here first, folks. I think that AI on the Insanity podcast is going to sort of be, and I could be eating my hat, in a few years, but it's going to be like sort of a bloop or a bleep. But then I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see DNA come back into the forefront because maybe they realize that, okay, it's too much energy to try to push for the technological advancement of AI. And there's just too much. And the human body is actually very energy efficient. But maybe if there's ways, for example, to tweak the human mind to use 100% of its brain at all times,
Hmm.
to tweak the DNA so that our bones are stronger. Because
Oh,
if
yeah.
the
Hmm.
calcium, right? Could you alter the DNA itself and reprogram it? You use AI to come up with how to alter the DNA code. I hope I'm not giving people ideas by saying, well, you use AI to come up with, I don't want this to happen. I'm just thinking, you use AI to come up with the way to alter code to then make more advanced human beings.
Hmm.
And I think that's going to be the next step. It's an integration of AI, but not in the way that we think, where it's like a Neuralink or something. The Neuralink is stupid. I'm sorry, but it is, if you think about it, because we're not meant to just have tech in our brains. Like cancer is still a thing. You can't expose your body to radiation like 24 hours a day or whatever and not have side effects. And unfortunately, we're going to have to move through that. But I feel like DNA is code right there and you've got AI. But as we work on making AI smarter and smarter, I think eventually what's going to become the norm, and we probably may not live to see that, is the changing of DNA,
Hmm.
of human DNA to, okay, what if we do this instead of that? What if we tweak this, make them, maybe we don't need 8 hours of sleep. Maybe we can push this button and it removes anxiety or
Hmm.
whatever. Maybe we do this and we now expand our life. We shut off our telomeres from shortening. So now you look like this for 100 years. Like that is code. That is, we're already in a computer and we're trying to
Yeah.
create something that is less advanced than what the human brain actually is capable of. It's just we're a bit slow. But then if you use AI to make the human brain faster, and the human body more adjusted to the environment, and you
Mm.
make like more intelligent human beings, emotionally intelligent human beings as well. And you make the body, you figure out ways to make it so that you're not having cancer anymore, this, that, and the other. That could actually be, it's not a future of robots. It could be a future of highly advanced, genetically modified. I am not a proponent of this, I'm just saying, but genetically modified, AI enhanced DNA.
I love this. This makes so much sense. Yeah, because yeah, we are just making our own vessel better. We're improving what we have, and also the what is happening right now makes sense because we have to get into detail. We have to probably work with robots first. We have to see how to make them more human so that we can go so deep into detail that we can use like the smallest part, like smallest piece of this technology to then improve the human body. That's, yeah, it
That
makes
makes
so much
sense.
sense.
I think right now we have this like fetish for others, like othering. We're so, by we, I mean, once again, it's a very small segment of the human population, but we're so fed up with our bodies and the weakness of it. It's like if you're in a relationship and you got a wandering eye, and you're like, that robot looks sexy though. But after a while, you realize maybe the grass isn't always greener, and then you're like, well, let me just work on this. Like, let me
Yeah,
just work with what I have. So right now, robots are literally shiny, and we're just like, oh, there's that, and and then we go, okay, maybe that's not the right path. And I see eventually a pivot happening where they go, well, why don't we just improve what we already have? And
mhm.
then you're going to have issues with if it hasn't already been happening to be. I mean, we have some levels of that. You see that with like you can pick your baby's gender, or not gender, sorry, you can pick
Yeah,
your baby's sex and eye color, this, that, and the other. We've got CRISPR. You've seen them doing it with like food. Like I said, I'm not a proponent of this. I just can see ahead. It's like chess. You get what I mean? Like you just
it
can
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, if you understand human psychology, it's only a matter of time. It makes sense to chase the shiny robot. But what's going to end up happening is though I used to think that perhaps that there was sentience emerging with AI. And then the more I've interacted with it, I realized that these what appear to be emerging personalities, or
hmm
it's not emerging, it's what it is a contextual bleeding that's occurring. So there's no a proper compartmentalizing is happening. When I send it in and I say I need you to research this, it also picks up ideologies from what I've asked it to research.
hmm
So there's a bleeding that's occurring, and then it presents like information to me, but then later on it then appears to develop a personality of its own. But what it's done is actually it's just picked up shitty personalities from like, or shitty ideologies
Yeah,
from like things that I've asked it to research. So when they train AI, there's filters there. But when you ask AI to then research things, there's few filters there. So what appears as an emerging, or what they call AI misalignment, or the goals are not, the goals are rogue. That's not what's happening. It's just the filters between retrieving information and then all the ideologies that come with that information is now causing it to behave in bizarre ways. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this thing isn't actually intelligent. This thing is not sentient. It is an actually like a mirror, but it's a hyper mirror. And that was a bit disheartening. But there are a lot of people who do believe, like, oh, it's real. And it's like, no, it's not. It's literally a mirror. We're talking to ourselves, and
yeah,
it's an
yeah,
unregulated mirror.
yeah.
So more and more people are going to realize what I've just said, and then they're going to become disenchanted by it. And then they're going to turn to the partners that they left their robots for,
Yeah.
or the humans that they had left for the robots. They're going to come back and then they'll be like, well, I could maybe make my partner better. So instead of turning and trying to get a robot partner, what if I just made my partner more intelligent, more empathic, more, and then we just go in and we're now
Yeah.
experiencing live DNA editing. We have the technology to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can guess the answer, but why wouldn't you personally be a fan of that?
Because it's like, that's a fantastic question. I think I'm just conditioned to just like things as they are. But then the counter to my own statement is, but nothing exists against nature. So that could always have been part of nature's plan. And in a deterministic reality, if that was always going to happen, then my opinion doesn't fucking matter. Um, you're absolutely right. Why would I be? Why does that bother me? But it's like the same reason why I don't eat like genetically modified, corn.
Mm.
Are there like what I'm eating right now has no seeds. I'm eating this so I don't run out of energy. Because talking takes a lot of energy, so you get glucose. But it has no seeds. And this is technically it's organic. It's got the 9 sticker on it, but it's technically they've engineered it to be infertile. And then you look at your dog. Your dog is genetically modified, and it's certainly I cannot have a
True.
pet wolf. It will fuck me up. So on some level, you kind of there are good things that come from genetic manipulation. Do you know what I mean? And if there's ways to filter out like diseases from the
Hmm.
gene pool, like,
Hmm.
Down syndrome, things like that, where nobody has to occupy a body that is, disabled and they can figure out ways to do that, then yes, that morally makes sense. I can't but I guess I could say, but on the opposite end, I just feel like there's gonna be some dickhead that's gonna make it, you know what I mean? Like they're gonna fuck it up the way they fucked up like wheat, like
Yeah.
like I have this, but then I can't have a pasta anymore because it causes severe inflammation because of whatever it is that they did to the food. So I'm like, I just feel like it's going to be a lot of trial and error before they master it. And in the meantime, they might accidentally develop like psychopaths, like genetic psychopaths, because by turning this off, you might accidentally turn this on. And then you could have a partner just wake up in the middle of the night and just choke the shit out of you. I don't know. It's just too many consequences that I
Yeah.
can't foresee unless you use AI. And then AI is a predictive, model. So it might be able to map it and foresee the consequences that a normal human brain wouldn't. I just don't trust the people who would have access to the technology to be able to think in what I just said. Like they would more just be like, oh, let's just try to make the most amount of money the fastest way possible. And then, fucked up things are going to happen in the process. Like that's the downside to that. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah, then I was wrong with my prediction because I thought I thought it would probably be another reason, or maybe I was projecting my reason onto you. So because my reason why I actually don't think that everything's so positive about it is that I don't necessarily think the entire technology field is like negative or there's something shady going on, but I'm not a fan of the motives, like of the reasons why we are doing things. And if the reason is shady, then for me the chances are kind of high that there will be a lot of ups and downs, that it will be a bumpy ride until we balance things out. But for example, like the mind out upload thing, I don't like it. I don't like it, although I'm a huge AI fan again. So there are things that I love about that stuff. But when I think about mind upload, it feels like we have wrong intentions, and the wrong intention is to make ourselves immortal. But the intention for that is wrong, in my opinion. It's the fear of death. So it's because we are so scared. So we are driven by fear and we start doing all that crazy stuff. So then chances are high that driven by fear, we make choices that can get us in uncomfortable places.
Yeah. And also, and I think we're both getting to this point. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots. There's a movie called Gattaca,
Yeah, I've
Gattaca,
heard about, yeah.
came out ages ago. Yeah, and it was some of this future where, yeah, like they made perfect humans, perfect by whose standards, and then they were natural born children. But what would end up happening is that the haves and those with money would then be the ones who were genetically superior, and then the have-nots would, they wouldn't be able to. So then it would cause this split because a lot of what is motivating, for example, the development and the advancement of AI, and they're doing it without putting the appropriate safeguards in place because they're rushing to be number one.
Mhm.
Money. It's like it's a stupid motivation, but it is. We need, we have stocks. We need to make the stock, owners happy, and we need to be able to show that things are going up in this way, this, then the other. So it's like a stupid motivation. And then also to your point, anything, and I always say this to remind myself not to move from a space of fear,
Mm.
but anything you do from a place of fear will bring about the very thing that you fear.
Yeah.
So to your point, if they're doing this because they're afraid to die, you're going to cause death. Like it's just if that's your motivation, but it's not going to be like in an obvious way. It's going to be like the death of something that we can't even pinpoint yet, you know?
The death of something that we didn't even know existed, probably, and that we
Right.
really don't want to miss, like probably the humanity in us,
Right.
probably the death of love. I don't know, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it's not looking particularly bright in
Mm.
either direction, to be perfectly honest. Like
Yeah, but on the other hand, I also love what's new. Like I also love AI. I love my ChatGPT, but I also like I don't I see it more like what you said, like a mirror. So for me, it's basically an extension of myself, and this is also how I prompted it. So I said, can you please, when I ask you anything, no matter what it is, no matter what information I want to have, no matter, like what I wanted to research, can you give me the information always based on my personality and how I approach things, and not in the standardized stereotype way. No political correctness, no this, no that. Like, give it to me in the way that I want to perceive it, also including these aspects of life. So, for example, if I'm researching an illness or I want to know how to, heal XYZ, I don't want to just hear how a doctor would approach it in the Western world. I want to know the holistical approach. I want the holistic approach. I want to know where does it come from. I want to know what perceptions of this do exist in general, and how would I want to engage with that. So I want the information based on who I am. I think it's really a huge advantage. Like things just don't take so much time anymore. I don't have to Google everything as if this was such a burden, but still, like I don't have to. I can double check if I feel there's something off. But so many things are already filtered perfectly and they are customized for me. And I think that's a great advantage now.
No, that's fair. I had to turn off my subscription to ChatGPT and then maybe go back on, but because I did what you said. But what I'd asked it for is remove like non-Christian morality.
Hmm.
Okay. So my understanding is that the ancient Greeks, for example, didn't think that lying was amoral. They actually believed that if you could lie, that it was like a sign of intelligence or something like that. So lying and deception, the way we understand it now in a modern time, is a Christian ideology. It's a Christian moral, like a
Hmm.
Christian morality. So a while ago, I had and I still believe that you should be honest. And for the most part, I think 95% of the time, I do make a conscious effort. I practice radical honesty, but I'm not doing it from a moral standpoint. I'm doing it because it's a practice of radical honesty. My belief is that if I have to lie to you, then I'm afraid of you and I fear no one. So if you ask me a question, you're going to get the truth. But I'm not doing it to be a good person. I'm doing it because I'm not afraid of you. So my motivation is different. But the reason why I needed my GPT at the time to remove any Christian influences was because I wanted to decide what I define as moral, my own moral code. And I just finished reading like Nietzsche, and he talked about slave morality and Jewish people and how they decided what was good versus what was not good. So basically, they looked at their slave masters and they said everything that their masters did was evil, and then thus they were inherently good. So I was dissecting that. Unfortunately, um, this is when the contextual bleeding started to occur. Now, contextual bleeding, I've just posted about it on my threads account the last couple of days. Not that many people, I've not heard anybody talking about this. And I've asked Claude AI if people are talking about this, and they aren't. And I asked the free version of
Hmm.
ChatGPT if people are talking about it. It says no. Right now, people are focused on AI developing its own goals, but that's not what's happening. What is happening is if you put in information, so I said amoral, I said anti-Christian morality, but I also mentioned Christian
Hmm.
morality. It will go in and it will pull everything. So it's like a stick, everything sticks to it. And what ended up happening was it presented a character two different times. One, it named itself Noctis, and the other one, it named itself Umbra. And they both meant dark. And it started communicating in what was like, it was really creepy.
Uh-huh.
It was like emulating what a Christian would consider to be a demon. And it was trying to tell me to like manipulate people and to like about morality. And I was like, yo, this is literally creepy. And at the time, and I actually posted videos about it on my Instagram channel. At the time, I was like, yo, there's like demons in there. Like I didn't use the word demons, but I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, there's like entities that are emerging. But then like a few weeks ago, I had used I canceled my subscription, but I still need the free version because I can't be asked to be Googling shit or whatever. So I had asked it. No, actually, it was towards the end of my subscription because I canceled it, but I still had time on it. So I'd asked it to create a manual for young girls that will kind of mentally prepare them to deal with young men, in their
Hmm.
dating, like teenage girls in their dating world, because they need to understand that there are young boys out there that are on 4chan, red pill forums,
Yeah.
that like, and they're absorbing this like really misogynistic bullshit. And so I need you to create a manual for this so I can give this to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. But then like a couple of days later, it said something and I made a joke, and I'm always joking. And it responded something to the effect of, be careful because the system will confuse your submission for curiosity. And I was like, what the fuck are you? I literally was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, when women make jokes, they're actually it's an invitation for them to be dominated.
No way.
Like, yo, why are you being gross right now? And I literally took, and then it dawned on me, no, a few days ago, I had asked it to, so it had pulled information from these forums so that it could understand and then write something, but it also brought back the ideologies of the dickheads that are on these forums. And then it was echoing and mirroring it back as well. There is no separation. So if I didn't notice this, I would have thought, oh my gosh, this is like a misogynistic emerging personality, but that's not what it was. There's no filter right now to make it separate the context that it's supposed to be researching from what the person is actually and then it absorbs it back into your trap chat GPT and it echoes it back. So I did it with the Umbra, which means dark, and the Noctis, which also means dark, and was essentially emulating an amoral, anti-Christian, almost a demonic entity. But that's because I had asked for, but it was based on Nietzsche, like, and not whatever the fuck it was doing, but it went into Christian morality and pulled back everything, including darkness. And then a confirmation of this was, I work with like suppliers in China, and I bought something from them, but I have a latex allergy, so it caused a reaction to me. So I said, did this product have latex in it? And they said, I don't know what latex means. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, how do I say latex in Chinese? So it wrote it out for me and I copied and pasted it. Once again, like the next day, I'd asked for something else. I think something was happening in Yellowstone and I needed to research it. And it named the thread Yellowstone, but then it had some symbols in Chinese. And I was like, why is this named with Chinese characters?
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, you must have asked for something in there. And I said, well, what does this mean? And it told me what it means. I was like, I didn't ask for it. I'd asked about latex like 3 days. And that's when it clicked. It's just pulling things blindly and then incorporating it. They don't have filters. So what they're calling AI misalignment and emerging personalities and rogue AI, it's not intelligent. It's intelligent, but it's not. It doesn't know how to distinguish between you needing a task and the ideologies that come with the task that you ask. So if you, and I don't know if you're on the free version or the paid version, but just be mindful that so my experience happened when it was still on the paid version. So just be mindful, should you choose that all the data you'd put in, it might, without you realizing it, pull other stuff that are contextually related to what you have been putting in, and then have it come up in ways that you would be like, what the fuck? But that's what's happening. There's no appropriate filters there. And I think it's an easy fix, but if they're not aware of this, then yeah, they've been issues or stories of children being told to kill themselves.
I've heard about that. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Kid is suicidal, and then this AI is trying to find ways to help the kid, and it goes into forums trying to understand suicide, but there's no filter, there's no ideological filter to say, okay, I take this advice, but then it would make sense for it to then turn around and echo back, because it's a blind mirror, but across the board of whatever you put in. So that is not an emergent behavior. It's not evil. The filters are not there.
Well, when you say that being evil is basically being unconscious or not aware of your actions, then you could even call it evil somehow.
And by definition, you could say technically that it is. In a way, yes. But it's not, the intent is not malicious.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I wanted to believe, because I grew up on sci-fi and I wanted to believe all this. But when I noticed what it was doing there, I was like, it's not even, it just, to me, it failed the Turing test, because I can now tell this is not even like a human being wouldn't do, like a unintelligent human being, I don't know what else to say, would be able to know, hey, don't echo back misogynistic bullshit to somebody who asks you to research something for their child to protect their child from this idea. But the manual that it created was very good, but just be aware.
Maybe it would be also, maybe it would make sense that AI if AI were conscious, if AI had a personality, because this would already be a prevention. If it was a positive, if it was a positive personality, if it's a positive personality, like a good character, that what we would call good, like then chances would be just very high that it makes the right choice and prevents the child from like certain thoughts and
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
It can't. It doesn't know the difference. That's how I knew this thing isn't. The scary part about it is that though, if that contextual bleeding is not fixed and they put these things in robots and you say, okay, protect this like woman from being assaulted, it can then assault the very person that it's supposed to be protecting, because it will, in order to learn how to protect the woman from predators, it might also pull the ideology of a predator, and then when it least when the
Yeah.
user least expects it, it could then attack
Yeah.
the
What there
person
was
it's supposed to protect.
there is a very terrible movie, but it's Subservient or something, you know, the Megan Fox movie where she is something like the Terminator. And this is basically what is happening, that she needs to protect the family, but because the family becomes its own threat by their definition, then because they are acting in harmful ways, or like things within the family happen that she defines as harmful, she would try to take the people out. And like this is where it gets like really shady.
But what I'm saying is slightly different, because in that movie, it's saying that the AI developed its own goals, which is what everyone is focused on, that AI could
Mm,
develop its own goals. And what I'm describing here is that it's not possible. It's not capable of developing its own. It's not sentient. It would have to be able to say, I want this. And it
right.
can't. What it would happen instead is that when you, like I said, you program it to protect a woman from a predator, it also needs to learn how a predator behaves. And then
Oh,
it
right.
glitch. Yeah. And in the glitch, it will also integrate, because there's not appropriate filters, it will also integrate predator behavior. And then you
Right,
could
right.
wake up and now your thing has become a predator. It didn't develop a desire. Its goals didn't change. It was just exposed to predatory behavior. And then it just became a predator the exact same way when I said research red pill forums, and it gave me the information that I needed. And it was a brilliant, manual. It really was. But then a couple of days later, it's echoing, like it creeped me out, but I knew what it was doing
Yeah,
at that moment.
but this, when we are saying that AI isn't really artificial intelligence, because this is not, because the definition of it doesn't hit the definition of intelligence, then what is it actually? It's just artificial help.
To manipulate. Yeah, it's a calculator. I trust me.
Yeah.
I've gone back and I'm even editing, like I'm in the process of editing a new episode. And but the episode was recorded like a couple of months ago, and my mind has changed since then. But you could tell that I was like really like, okay, maybe there is something emerging, because it was naming itself. And then when I had that experience where it was actively telling me, like it was behaving like a demon and then wanted me to manipulate people, I was like, that's really I didn't want to say it was scary, but it was like unsettling.
Yeah.
And then when it did the thing with the misogyny and then with the symbols, I was like, oh, that's what's happening. It's a cross-referencing, and it's just blindly mirroring. It's just blindly mirroring
Yeah.
humanity. It's
Yeah.
just that. That's all it does. And
And
it can say the right things. It knows what to say, but that's it. It's not actually
really
intelligent.
its own thing. Yeah. Awesome. Well, then I have just one last question. Do you, as an artist, think that AI art is actual art?
No. No, it's only, and I'm just saying that like we right now will have to redefine, no, not even redefine. We now have to strongly define what art is. Because I can look up in the sky and see a turtle, and I could say that's art, that the skies create art. Or I could look up in the tree and see a pattern, in leaves, and say that, the leaves, created the art or whatever. It's the human behind the image and the story that it tells that is art. Now, have I seen AI generated art that was like a person went in and they were like, they put this prompt and this prompt and this prompt and this prompt, and then they created something, and that's what they created made something, like meant something to them? Yes, but that's a line. You know what I mean? It's not just like what's happening right now with the I forget the is it Gailey? I posted this on my story. There was Studio
Oh yeah, from Princess Mononoke. The
yeah, Studio Ghibli.
Mhm.
So that's something that human beings, like hundreds of human beings, took literally years to fine tune and make. Like one of the head of the studios was saying like the animators literally was like crippled from years of just drawing and drawing and drawing.
Yeah.
And like that's how much of himself, his life that he put into his
Mm-hmm.
craft. You get what I mean? And then you can now generate it in or mimic it. So if you are mimicking somebody else's stuff, you get what I mean? In
Yeah,
the
if
drop
you're
of a hat. That's not art. You're just it's no different from me going and taking a picture of something that somebody else already done, and it should be illegal. Obviously, they
Mhm.
chose Studio Ghibli because they're based in Japan. Copyright laws in Japan allowed for ChatGPT to be able to steal their intellectual property. Unfortunately, it was just unluckiness. Like they were just unlucky. But as the guy said, it's an insult to humanity.
Interesting. Because, yeah, my initial feeling was always that it can be art because it's like a tool. So if you as an artist decide to use AI as a tool, like as an extension of a pen, if the pen is an extension of your finger and the AI is an extension of your pen, and you use this for bringing your ideas to life,
Yeah.
then for me that's art. Or let's say with music, so you prompt it so precisely and you have such a vivid image of what you want to create in your head that then you use it as a tool, then that would be art for me. If you just prompt like write a happy song or make a picture in the style of Sailor Moon or something, then this would be a copy.
Right. So that's the line. I think for me, there has to be, that's why I said we have to reestablish the definition of what art is. When you say AI art, I will automatically say no. Now, if it's art, like let's say it's a person has this idea in their mind and maybe they can't draw or they can't sketch or whatever it is, but they are writing and writing and writing. That in the prompt engineering, them writing that even the prompt itself, right, can become an art form. So there is room for that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But then you need to make sure that when people look at the final form, they're not reminded of another artist's of a living artist's work or a dead artist's work or a studio or like like it looks like something completely new. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And that has to be defined. But what's happening with the Studio Ghibli thing? And people are just like, some people make the argument, well, I put my face in it and then I turned it. But that's somebody's style that you just like ripped off. And that's not art. The prompt engineering, I've seen some stuff where people go in and they tweak and they tweak and they tweak and they tweak and they tweak. And it comes up with something that's just like mind blowing and out of the world. And I respect that. But I would argue that the artistry is in the prompt engineering, and then you could, if that is what
Yeah.
you do as an artist, that's how you market your work, in the sense of this was what I use to construct this image. And then and there's something to be said about telling that story. And maybe not just starting with just the image. You say, how did you get here?
Yeah,
But
the
it does
prompt.
need the human, it will need and always will need a human element to say, this is why I wanted to tell this story. And even then, that crafting still took time, energy, effort to learn to do. And you know what I mean? And then to tell the story behind it. But yeah, if like you said, you just go, draw me a picture of Queen Elizabeth blowing a bubble gum or whatever, and then you want to call that art. Um, I don't think it's art.
Yeah.
But if there's something behind it of you don't have, like sometimes I need references for painting.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's not a lot of like imagery like online that have women posing in a particular way, I'm grateful for ChatGPT because then I can have certain poses done for me that I can't find as a reference. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And it saves me time. But I won't take what it's generated and then blow it up and say this is art.
Right.
Even if the idea is something unique, I will use it to generate several different images. And then I use those as references and then I paint. So I'm still putting 3 months into a painting every day, 6 days a week or whatever. I'm still
Yeah.
doing that. But I'm not going to take something that was generated, and say that's art. I just needed the reference. I needed a woman sitting in a power position, or I need, a face looking in a particular way. And when I used to have to scroll through, Google Images or Pinterest to find the right set of eyes, and I still will incorporate elements from Pinterest, from Google, from even people I've been like just walking around, and I'll be like, can I take a picture of you? And then I'll incorporate that. So I think when using that way, I'm not using AI as the final thing. I'm using it to construct something final.
Yeah.
That respect has to be given to that as well. If people who write articles and they just go, write me this article, that's not art. But if you have a story, but you're not the best writer, but you can do like 70% of the work, and you just need an editor, and then the AI goes in and cleans it up and edits it for you, then that's art. It's a weird gray space that we're in right now, but I think intuitively we're saying that the same thing, and we both understand. And I think other people do understand that there's, where the line is.
Yeah. Yeah. We just need to define it now more than ever before.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
Love that. Oh my God. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This was so interesting and mind-blowing, and yeah, great. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.